Well, so the Leopard is a new introduction to the curriculum this semester, the spring semester 2019. We have it actually read in both Humanities 8 and the final senior seminar in Nostra Aetate. So what we did this year was to have it, for the first class at least, have it co-taught between myself and Dr. Fahey. And the reason why we wanted to add it was, in part, because of its reputation. It does stand out as one of the most important Italian novels ever written, certainly of the 20th century. But what it accomplishes in Humanities 8, so in the course that I teach, it is read right after Rerum Novarum, Leo XIII's great encyclical, social encyclical. And it's a nice bridge for the students to actually see, witness, the decline of the old order, the old feudal order. Lampedusa's The Leopard portrays the decline of a Sicilian noble family under the pressure of political and economic change and revolution and civil war. So one can really witness the effects of the new order after the French Revolution, the turn to a free market-driven economy on the noble family. So it has a historical purpose. Now it's also a novel, so that serves the purpose of providing the students not only with abstract theoretical accounts of that decline, but actually a kind of vivid image and human story of that decline and the effects of those historical changes on a family. And I think the novel does that both beautifully and accurately. It also, on a more thematic level, brings out a concern that then is touched upon in the next readings, which is Tolstoy's short stories, or two of them, Master and Man and The Death of Ivan Ilyich. Now, The Death of Ivan Ilyich, as well as Master and Man, as the title of The Death of Ivan Ilyich says, is concerned with death. And the question of death as it's brought to the protagonists, and the way that they're processing their own life in light of the coming end to their life, namely death. Now, death is also a very prominent theme in Lampedusa's The Leopard. So we have both from Rerum Novarum, the historical transition into the Leopard, where the Leopard provides the story, the human story, the images of what Leo depicts and analyzes and tries to address and solve in Rerum Novarum. And then continuing from Lampedusa's The Leopard to Tolstoy's short stories, the theme of death, which really is a prominent theme for modernity, because it bears on the question of the meaning of life, the meaning of human existence, which I think really bears on a fundamental quest that we have in modernity, we find in modernity. What does all of this mean? What is the meaning? We tend to be shy of supplying a universal meaning and a universal nature to things. And The Leopard does both of those things. So in addition to being a beautiful novel, a fascinating novel, a puzzling novel, with an open end and a puzzling end perhaps, it has all these other benefits. And there are more, but yeah.
So what is this idea of that we have to change so that everything can remain the same? What is behind that whole...
Yeah, one has to be very careful. You hear about a novel and then somebody else tells you that's the most important line of the novel, and then you're tempted to say, okay, I have to understand this line, because if I don't understand this line, I don't understand the novel. And that might be true. So this is the line said by his nephew Tancredi, who's a young nobleman, but his father has spent all their wealth, and the prince has not only taken him on as his ward, but also has a great affection for Tancredi. He almost quite clearly thinks of him as his son, more though than his natural son. And he admires Tancredi for his charm. He is a good-looking young chap, ambitious, but also, despite all those qualities, also in love with the old order to an extent, but very adaptable to the new order and very capable of moving along in the new order and using the new order for his own advances, for his own advantage. So, for instance, Tancredi actually joins the rebels, joins the Garibaldini, and fights for them. Really fights against his own class. So he's the one that says this line. If you want things to stay the same, things have to change. And the prince receives those lines and ponders them, and at first just thinks them to be utter nonsense. But what he draws from them ultimately is a kind of directive for a good portion of the novel, where he does not oppose the revolution, nor does he really consent and directly aid it, but he goes along with it. He goes along with it thinking that, okay, I recognize things will have to change, but in the end the outcome will be the same. That is, that nothing for me and my family will change. So he says that for a while, and what this explains is the prince's paralysis and inactivity towards the revolution. Another line very early on in the book, maybe about 10 pages into the book, Lampedusa tells us, the prince did nothing to stop the rebellion and the revolution, nor did he really ever want to stop it. So I would be willing to say that idea, things have to change in order to be the same, to remain the same, for the prince is almost a nice excuse, a philosophical excuse for his inactivity, which I don't think he's disposed to do anything anyway. I think he lacks any kind of principle for action. But that's how I would understand it. And then the novel ultimately showing that that's a false principle.